Commander Jack Forrester stared at the data scrolling across his screen, his brow furrowed in concentration. For the third time this week, the pattern had appeared, subtle disruptions in Earth's outgoing communications that couldn't be explained by natural phenomena. "You're seeing it too, right?" he asked, glancing over at Lieutenant Zoe Miller, who nodded slowly. "It's definitely there, sir. Something or someone is intercepting our signals." Jack rubbed his tired eyes. After 15 years working at the United Earth Defense Force's Deep Space Monitoring Division, he had developed an instinct for trouble. This wasn't random interference. It was deliberate and methodical. "Run the deep pattern analysis again," he ordered, reaching for his coffee. The underground facility known as Station Delta hummed with activity around them. Located beneath the Rocky Mountains, it was one of Earth's most sophisticated listening posts, designed to detect any potential threats approaching our solar system. 3 hours later, Zoe called him back to her station. "Sir, I've isolated the pattern. Whatever's intercepting our signals is using some kind of quantum algorithm we've never seen before." Jack studied the visualization. The intercepts were becoming more frequent and more thorough, focusing particularly on military communications, scientific research data, and population statistics. "Someone's gathering intelligence," he said quietly. "And they're getting bolder." Within 24 hours, Jack found himself in Washington, D.C., standing before the United Earth Defense Council, representatives from every major nation on the planet who oversaw humanity's combined military capabilities. "Commander Forrester, your report is disturbing," said Admiral Helen Pierce, her voice echoing in the secure chamber. "You're certain this isn't experimental technology from any Earth nation?" "Positive, Admiral. The energy signatures don't match anything in our databases, and the computational patterns suggest technology well beyond our current capabilities." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We need to establish a specialized team," said General Carlos Mendez, breaking the silence. "And we need to determine the source of these intercepts." 3 days later, Outpost Horizon, Earth's most advanced monitoring station orbiting Jupiter, detected unusual gravitational disturbances near the edge of the solar system. Something large was moving out there, sometimes appearing momentarily, before vanishing again. Dr. Ryan Parker, the leading xenolinguist at the Academy, was brought in to analyze the fragmented data they'd managed to capture from the intercepted communications. "It's not just random sampling," Dr. Parker explained to Jack as they worked through the night. "There are patterns here suggesting they're specifically interested in our resource production, military capabilities, and biological makeup." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "They're assessing us." "Yes," Dr. Parker agreed grimly. "And I've found repeated references to terms that translate roughly as harvesting and resources." The following week, the Defense Council made their decision. They would send a mission to investigate, using Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, the HFY Sentinel. Captain Olivia Reeves was selected to command the mission. At 38, she had distinguished herself in numerous deep space operations and had a reputation for level-headed decision-making under pressure. "We're walking into unknown territory," she told her assembled crew during their first briefing. "Our primary objective is observation and information gathering. We need to understand what we're dealing with before making any moves that might be interpreted as hostile." Jack was assigned as her second-in-command due to his expertise in signal intelligence. As the HFY Sentinel prepared for departure, Jack looked out at the Earth through the viewport of the space elevator. The blue marble looked so peaceful, so unaware of the potential threat gathering at the edges of its solar system. "Whatever's out there," he whispered to himself, "they don't know what they're dealing with. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before. We survived, we adapted, and we'll do it again if we have to." The Sentinel launched 3 days later, accelerating silently toward the outer darkness, carrying humanity's best and brightest toward their first encounter with whatever waited beyond the familiar stars. The HFY Sentinel glided silently through the outer reaches of the solar system, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. Captain Olivia Reeves stood on the bridge, watching as Jupiter's massive form shrank behind them. "We're approaching the anomaly coordinates," reported Lieutenant Zoe Miller from the navigation station. Sensors are detecting unusual energy patterns. At bearing 47 Mark 32, Commander Jack Forrester leaned over the sensor display. That's definitely not natural. The radiation signature doesn't match any known celestial phenomenon. Captain Reeves nodded. Maintain stealth protocols. Communications Specialist Conway, prepare first contact packages on all frequencies. Liam. Conway, a tall man with steady hands and remarkable linguistic abilities, had been preparing for this moment his entire career. Ready, Captain. Translation algorithms are standing by. The tension on the bridge was palpable as the Sentinel edged closer to the mysterious energy source. Suddenly, the main view screen flickered. Something's scanning us, Jack warned. Very sophisticated. It's cutting through our stealth field like it wasn't even there. Before Captain Reeves could respond, the space before them seemed to ripple and distort. A vessel materialized, sleek, bronze-colored, and approximately twice the size of the Sentinel. Its surface was covered with what appeared to be sensory appendages that pulsed with blue light. "My God," whispered Dr. Ryan Parker. "It was hiding, too. All stations, yellow alert," ordered Captain Reeves calmly. "Mr. Conway, initiate first contact protocols." Liam sent the carefully crafted greeting message. Mathematical sequences followed by basic language constructs designed to establish peaceful intent. For several tense minutes there was no response. Then the alien vessel transmitted back. The bridge speakers emitted a series of clicks, whistles, and deep resonant tones. Began to come through. "Humans. We observe long time. You grow fast. Too fast." Captain Reeves stepped forward. "We come in peace, seeking understanding and knowledge." The alien response came more fluently now. "We are Krell. We speak for Dominion. Old Alliance, very powerful," Dr. Parker whispered to Jack. "They've been studying us. That's why they've been intercepting our communications. They've been learning our languages." The conversation progressed, with the Krell vessel maintaining distance, but sharing increasingly complex information. They revealed they represented an ancient coalition of species that had been observing Earth for centuries. "Your kind interesting," the Krell translator conveyed. "Aggressive, adaptable, resource-rich world." Jack didn't like the emphasis on resource-rich. His concerns grew as the dialogue continued. "You categorized as resource species," the Krell explained. "Value to Dominion is materials, labor, genetic materials." Captain Reeves's expression remained neutral, but her voice hardened. "We are an independent, sovereign species. We determine our own destiny." The Krell response was chilling. "Many say this. 12 species in last 1,000 revolutions. All now serve purpose. All harvested." The bridge crew exchanged alarmed glances. Dr. Parker pulled up historical records on his pad. "Captain, they're talking about extinction events. They've eliminated 12 sapient species in the last millennium." Before Captain Reeves could respond, the Krell vessel transmitted again. "Your technology primitive but interesting. Your resistance noted but irrelevant. Dominion Council will contact soon with terms. Prepare for integration." With that, the bronze ship rippled out of normal space, disappearing as suddenly as it had appeared. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," Captain Reeves ordered, her face grim. "Priority Alpha. The Council needs to hear this immediately. We're not dealing with explorers or potential allies." Jack looked at the empty space where the Krell ship had been. "We just met the galaxy's apex predators," he said quietly, "and they've marked us as their next meal." The United Earth Defense Council chamber was silent as Captain Olivia Reeves finished her report. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the recorded encounter with the Krell vessel, ending with their ominous message. "So there it is," said Admiral Helen Pierce, her face grim. An ultimatum from a galactic power that views us as nothing more than resources to be harvested. General Carlos Mendez slammed his fist on the table. We should immediately begin full military mobilization. If they want to fight, they would crush us, interrupted Dr. Ryan Parker. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Conventional warfare would be suicide. The Krell Dominion's formal message had arrived 12 hours after the ESV Sentinels returned to Earth. It was transmitted simultaneously to every major communication center on the planet, bypassing all security protocols as if they didn't exist. The terms were simple and brutal. Earth would submit to becoming a resource world within the Dominion. Humans would be permitted to exist, but under strict population controls. The planet's minerals, water, and biological diversity would be harvested for the benefit of higher priority civilizations. Some humans would be relocated to work in off-world facilities. Compliance was expected within 1 Earth year. There must be weaknesses we can exploit, said Captain Reeves. No civilization is invulnerable. Chief Science Officer Maya Daniels, who had been quietly analyzing the Sentinel's sensor data, looked up from her tablet. Captain's right. During our encounter, I detected fluctuations in their shield harmonics when they transmitted messages. Their communication technology interferes with their defensive systems. That's something at least, nodded Jack Forrester. What else? Maya brought up a detailed analysis on the main display. Their hull material absorbed certain wavelengths of our scanning beams, but reflected others in unusual patterns. I believe their ships may be vulnerable to precisely modulated energy weapons, if we can develop them in time. The council debated through the night. By morning, a decision had been reached. Earth would appear to negotiate while secretly preparing for resistance. A unified response unlike anything in human history would be required. In the weeks that followed, Lieutenant Gabriel Martinez made a crucial discovery while running combat simulations. The Krell, evolved on a high-gravity world, seemed to struggle with rapid directional changes in zero-gravity environments. Their movements are too linear, too predictable, he explained to Captain Reeves. Humans, especially those trained for space combat, can outmaneuver them by exploiting three-dimensional thinking. Meanwhile, the world's governments began a carefully concealed buildup. Manufacturing facilities went on 24-hour production, schedules officially to prepare integration facilities, but actually creating components for weapons and ships. Research laboratories worked feverishly to reverse engineer technologies glimpsed during the Krell encounter. 3 months after first contact, the Krell ambassador arrived in a small shuttle to begin formal integration planning. The tall, chitinous, being moved with unsettling grace despite Earth's gravity. Its forearms ended in delicate manipulators, and its face was a complex arrangement of sensory organs surrounding a vertical mouth. Your acceptance of inevitable is wise, it told the assembled human representatives. Many species resist. All fail. Much suffering follows. You will be treated fairly as valuable resource. That night, in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the real human leadership met. We've analyzed everything, said Maya Daniels. The Krell are overconfident. They've conquered so many species that they've become complacent. They don't see us as a threat, just another primitive world to add to their collection. President Laura Chen looked around the room at the representatives of Earth's nations, once divided but now united by an existential threat. Then we'll show them their mistake, she said quietly. Humanity will not be harvested, relocated, or controlled. If the Krell want our world, they'll learn what happens when you back humans into a corner. The decision was unanimous. Earth would reject the ultimatum and prepare for war, knowing full well the terrible consequences that would follow. The transformation of Earth began quietly at first. Factories that once produced consumer goods were retooled under the guise of integration preparations. Steel meant for skyscrapers now formed the skeletons of warships. Computer chips designed for smartphones were rewired for targeting systems. Dr. Alan Wright hadn't slept properly in weeks. His laboratory deep beneath the Arizona desert hummed with activity as his team worked to perfect their greatest breakthrough. The Krell shields had seemed impenetrable until Alan noticed a pattern in their energy distribution. The frequency modulation is the key, he explained to the visiting General Mendez, pointing to a simulation showing waves of energy colliding. Their shields operate on a resonance principle that we can disrupt with precisely timed pulses. The general watched as the simulation showed a human energy weapon penetrating the previously impervious Krell barrier. "And you're sure this will work on the actual ships?" Alan nodded, fatigue evident in his eyes. "We've tested it against the materials we recovered from their communication probe. The shield technology is consistent. Across the planet, similar breakthroughs were happening. In underwater facilities off the coast of South Africa, engineers were perfecting new propulsion systems. In orbiting stations, soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat, using the techniques developed by Lieutenant Gabriel Martinez. The most ambitious project of all was taking shape in a massive hidden facility beneath the Gobi Desert. Named the Cosmic Blade Initiative, it represented humanity's ultimate response to the Krell threat. "We can't match them for numbers or conventional firepower," explained Director Kate Lawson to the visiting Leadership Council. "So we're developing technologies that play to human strengths: adaptability, creativity, and unpredictability." The centerpiece of the initiative was a new class of vessel, unlike anything humans had built before. Smaller than Krell ships but devastatingly effective, they combined Dr. Wright's shield-penetrating technology with revolutionary stealth systems. Combat specialist Nicole Pearson had been developing new tactical doctrines to maximize these advantages. A former Special Forces commander, she understood that humanity couldn't win by fighting conventionally. "The Krell expect submission, not resistance," she told her trainees. "And they certainly don't expect innovation. Their tactics haven't changed in centuries because they haven't needed to evolve." Nicole's combat simulations focused on hit-and-run attacks, communication disruption, and exploiting the Krell's hierarchical command structure. "Cut off the head and the body falters," became her mantra. 6 months into the secret preparations, Chief Engineer Sam Wilson made the breakthrough they'd been waiting for. His team successfully tested the Nova Drive, a propulsion system that allowed for unprecedented speed and maneuverability in space combat. "It's based partly on principles we observed in the Krell ships," he explained during the demonstration, "but we've pushed the concept further than they ever did. They've become complacent using the same technologies for millennia. We're still hungry, still innovating." The test ship performed a series of maneuvers that would have torn apart conventional vessels, stopping and changing direction with impossible precision. Meanwhile, the Krell ambassador grew increasingly impatient with what it perceived as human stalling tactics. "Integration deadline approaches," it reminded President Chen during their weekly meeting. "Your species shows concerning signs of resistance thinking. We're simply ensuring a smooth transition," she replied with a practiced smile. "A global civilization takes time to reorganize." Behind the facade of cooperation, Earth's transformation continued. Military personnel were trained in secret. Defensive systems were installed under the cover of night. The orbital construction platforms, supposedly building welcoming facilities for Krell overseers, were actually assembling humanity's first battle fleet. As the deadline approached, Dr. Wright stood before the United Earth Defense Council with his final report. "We're ready," he said simply. "Not as ready as we'd like to be, but ready enough. The cosmic blade has been forged." President Chen looked around the room at the leaders of a united Earth and nodded solemnly. "Then it's time to show the galaxy that humans are not prey." The Krell response to Earth's rejection of their ultimatum was swift and merciless. 3 massive warships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their bronze hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight as they accelerated toward Earth. "They're following the exact approach vector we predicted," reported Lieutenant Zoe Miller from her station at Earth Defense Command. 3 capital ships with approximately 24 support vessels. Admiral Helen Pierce nodded grimly. "They're not even bothering with evasive maneuvers. They don't think we can hurt them." The first target of the Krell assault was predictable: Earth's visible orbital defenses. The conventional satellite network and space stations that humans had allowed the Krell to observe during the negotiation period. What the Krell didn't know was that these were largely decoys. The real defenses lay hidden behind the moon and in stealth orbit. All defense units maintain position, ordered Captain Olivia Reeves from the command deck of the ESV Valiant, the first of Earth's new combat vessels. Let them commit to their attack run. The Krell warships unleashed devastating energy beams that vaporized the decoy defenses. Their transmission frequencies lit up with what the translation software identified as celebratory communications. They're congratulating themselves on our quick defeat, Jack Forrester noted with a grim smile. Time to disappoint them. Captain Reeves gave the order. All ships, execute Operation Shadow Strike. From behind the moon, 40 sleek vessels powered by the new Nova drive engines accelerated to attack speed. Unlike the bulky Krell ships, these human craft were compact, agile, and designed with a single purpose: to exploit the weaknesses Dr. Wright and his team had discovered. First wave, focus on the support vessels, Reeves ordered. Second wave, prepare to engage the capital ships on my mark. The Krell never saw the attack coming. By the time their sensors detected the human vessels, 6 of their support ships had already been disabled by precisely targeted energy pulses that penetrated their shields at the exact resonance frequency Dr. Wright had identified. The main battle group is changing formation, reported Zoe. They're attempting to create a defensive perimeter. But the human ships were too fast, too unpredictable. Using Nicole Pearson's combat doctrine, they attacked from multiple vectors, never staying in one place long enough for the Krell targeting systems to lock on. Meanwhile, Engineer Sam Wilson's secret weapon was deployed. Thousands of small automated drones, each barely larger than a coffee cup, swarmed toward the Krell vessels. Individually, they posed no threat, but collectively, they created havoc with the Krell sensors and communication systems. Drone network, functioning at 94% efficiency, Sam reported from his control station. Their systems are overwhelmed. The Krell attempted to adapt, firing wildly at the human ships, but the Nova drive's maneuverability allowed the Earth vessels to evade most attacks. Those few energy bolts that did connect were absorbed by Dr. Wright's adaptive shielding. 3 hours into the battle, the tide had clearly turned. 9 Krell support ships were disabled or destroyed. One of the capital ships was venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. The remaining vessels were attempting to regroup. They're transmitting on all frequencies, Liam Conway announced. Yes, they're calling for reinforcements. Captain Reeves smiled coldly. Send our prepared message. On every Krell communication channel in their own language and in English, Earth's response was broadcast. We are not prey. We are the predators you failed to recognize. Return to your dominion with this warning. Earth is not to be harvested. The message was punctuated by the coordinated attack of Earth's second battle group, which had remained hidden until that moment. The remaining Krell vessels, damaged and outmaneuvered, began a retreat toward the outer solar system. They're running, Jack said, almost disbelieving. For now, Captain Reeves cautioned, but they'll be back, with more ships and new tactics. Admiral Pierce's voice came through on the command channel. All vessels, well done. The first battle is ours, but the war has just begun. The Krell won't underestimate humanity twice. The news of humanity's successful defense against the Krell spread quickly through the nearby star systems. 3 weeks. After the battle, an unusual signal reached Earth's deep space monitoring stations. It's not Krell, confirmed Liam Conway, studying the transmission patterns. The encoding is completely different, and it's deliberately avoiding Krell relay networks. The message, once decrypted, revealed something unexpected. The sender identified themselves as representatives of the Araxian Collective, a species that had been subjugated by the Krell Dominion centuries ago. They want to talk, Jack Forrester told the Defense Council. And they're not alone. 2 other species have sent similar messages in the past few days. President Chen designated Ellie Blackwood as Earth's diplomatic envoy to these potential allies. With her background in international negotiations and quick thinking, Ellie was the perfect choice for this delicate mission. The meeting took place on Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. The ESV Valiant transported Ellie and her small team maintaining stealth protocols throughout the journey. The Araxian representatives were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions. They were accompanied by the Novan delegation, short, stocky beings with 4 eyes, and the Tellurians, who resembled Earth octopi but moved about in mechanized suits. "For generations we have served the Krell," explained the Araxian speaker, its skin pulsing deep blue. "No species has successfully resisted them since the Great Purge, 10,000 cycles ago. Until now." Ellie listened carefully as the aliens described life under Krell dominion. Some species were used for labor, others for scientific experimentation, and some, the least fortunate, had their worlds stripped of resources until nothing remained. "The Dominion is not as unified as they want you to believe," said the Novan representative. "Your resistance has created opportunities, fractures in their coalition." Meanwhile, Commander Jack Forrester was leading a dangerous mission deep into Krell territory. Using the stealth technologies that had proven so effective, in the first battle, the ESV Phantom infiltrated a Krell outpost in a neighboring star system. "We need to understand their response to the defeat," Jack had argued, "and we need to know how much time we have before they return in force." What they discovered was both concerning and promising. The Krell were indeed marshalling a much larger fleet, but they were also facing internal challenges. The defeat at Earth had emboldened subjugated species throughout their territory, creating unrest on dozens of worlds. "They're stretched thin," Jack reported back to Earth, "trying to maintain control of their territory while also preparing to deal with us." The most valuable intelligence came from a secured Krell database that Dr. Ryan Parker managed to access, briefly. It contained ancient records about species categorization and evolution patterns. "This is fascinating," he told Jack as they reviewed the stolen data on their return journey. "According to their records, humans evolved in conditions the Krell consider extremely harsh. Our planet's gravity, atmospheric composition, radiation levels, predator diversity, they're all classified as high stress factors." Jack understood the implications immediately. That's why they underestimated us. We developed in an environment that would kill most of their species. Back on Earth, the Alliance negotiations were progressing rapidly. The Araxians offered advanced biotechnology, the Novans shared detailed maps of Krell space, and the Tellurians provided expertise on Krell ship design weaknesses. In return, Earth shared its breakthroughs in propulsion, shield penetration, and combat tactics. The Nova Drive technology particularly impressed the alien representatives. "You achieved in months what took us centuries," the Tellurian delegate bubbled through its translation device. "Your adaptability is unsettling but valuable." As the alliance took shape, more species made contact. Some offered only information, too afraid to openly defy the Krell, but others pledged ships and resources to the growing coalition. The Krell Dominion, for the first time in millennia, faced a serious challenge to their supremacy. Their response was predictable. They assembled the largest battle fleet seen in generations, determined to crush the human resistance before it could spread further. What they didn't realize was that humanity was counting on exactly this response. The Krell Armada appeared at the edge of the solar system, exactly where Earth strategists had predicted. Over 200 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their bronze hulls forming a wall of destruction aimed directly at humanity's homeworld. "That's the largest concentration of Krell military power ever observed," noted Admiral Pierce as she studied the tactical display. "They've committed nearly 40% of their total fleet strength." The Allied forces had prepared for this moment for months. Earth's shipyards had worked continuously, producing vessels equipped with Nova drives and right shield technology. The Araxians, Novans, and other allies had contributed their own ships to the defense fleet. But even with these combined forces, they were outnumbered 3-1. "They've adapted their tactics," Captain Olivia Reeves observed from the command deck of the flagship ESV Defiant. "Their formation is designed to counter our maneuverability advantage." The Krell fleet advanced methodically, maintaining a tight defensive pattern that protected their capital ships. Their energy weapons had been modified to operate on variable frequencies, making Dr. Wright's shield penetration technology less effective. "They've learned from their defeat," Jack Forrester said grimly. "This won't be like last time." But humanity had anticipated this adaptation. The real battle plan had been months in development, using Earth's solar system itself as a weapon. "All ships execute Operation Solar Forge," ordered Admiral Pierce. "Draw them in." The Allied fleet engaged the front of the Krell Armada, appearing to fight desperately while slowly retreating toward the inner solar system. The Krell, eager to finish what they had started, pursued relentlessly. "They're taking the bait," reported Lieutenant Zoe Miller, monitoring the enemy fleet movements. "Their formation is holding, but they're accelerating to catch us." The running battle continued for hours as the human-led fleet fell back toward the orbit of Venus. Ships on both sides were damaged or destroyed, but the Allied forces deliberately maintained the appearance of a fighting retreat. When the Krell fleet reached the predetermined position, Dr. Alan Wright gave the signal from his control station near Mercury. "Sunforge is charged and ready," he reported. "Target lock confirmed." The trap that humanity had prepared was unlike anything the Krell had encountered in their thousands of years of conquest. For months, engineers had constructed a massive array of solar collectors and focusing lenses in a tight orbit around the sun. This Sunforge weapon concentrated the sun's energy into a coherent beam of unprecedented power. "All Allied vessels, execute emergency jump maneuvers now," commanded Admiral Pierce. In perfect coordination, the human and Allied ships activated their Nova drives, rapidly clearing the target zone. The Krell, their massive ships unable to change direction quickly, found themselves directly in the path of the Sunforge beam. When it fired, the beam struck the center of the Krell formation with the focused energy of a small sun. Dozens of enemy ships were vaporized instantly. Many more were severely damaged, their shields overwhelmed by the sheer power of the weapon. "Second phase, begin now," ordered Captain Reeves. From hidden positions around the solar system, specialized boarding craft led by Lieutenant Gabriel Martinez launched toward the surviving Krell vessels. Using the confusion created by the Sunforge attack, these small teams targeted the Krell command ships. "Their command structure is hierarchical," Martinez had explained during the planning sessions. "Take out their leadership, and the entire fleet will struggle to coordinate." The boarding parties, using technology derived from the Tellurians' insights, cut through the damaged Krell hulls and fought their way to the command centers. The human soldiers, trained in Martinez's zero-gravity combat techniques, moved with a speed and adaptability that the Krell couldn't match. Within hours, 7 Krell command ships had been captured or disabled. The remaining fleet, without central coordination, broke formation and began to retreat. "They're running," Jack announced, watching the tactical display as the surviving Krell vessels accelerated away from Earth. "We did it." Admiral Pierce shook her head. "We won the battle, Commander. But this isn't over." She was right. The Krell had suffered their worst military defeat in recorded history, but the Dominion still controlled vast territories and resources. Yet something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, the Krell were no longer unchallenged predators. Humanity had proven itself to be the more dangerous species. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly shimmered, with light reflected from the crystalline dome overhead. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the massive chamber, many species sitting face-to-face for the first time, without Krell overseers present. Captain Olivia Reeves, now Ambassador Reeves, stood at the central podium. In the 2 years since the decisive battle, much had changed. The Krell Dominion had not collapsed entirely but had fractured into competing factions, many of which had sued for peace with the growing alliance led by humanity. "The old order is gone," Olivia began, her voice carrying throughout the hall. "For too long, the galaxy lived under the rule of predators who saw other intelligent life only as resources to be harvested. Today we establish something new. Around the chamber, translation devices conveyed her words to beings of vastly different biologies and cultures. Some had been slaves for countless generations. Others had been forced to serve as enforcers of Krell rule. All had suffered under the old system. The Cosmic Blade Covenant is not built on conquest, she continued. It is founded on mutual respect and shared security. Each member world maintains its sovereignty while contributing to our collective defense. Dr. Alan Wright, seated with the Earth delegation, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. His technologies, developed in those desperate, early days, had evolved into tools for peaceful cooperation. The shield-harmonizing principles that once penetrated Krell defenses now formed the basis for a revolutionary communication network linking distant worlds. The terms of the new interstellar alliance were straightforward. No species could claim ownership of another. Resource sharing would be negotiated fairly. Knowledge and technology would flow freely between member worlds. Most importantly, a mutual defense pact ensured that an attack on any member world would be met with the combined response of all. Jack Forrester, now Admiral Forrester, watched from the sidelines as representatives signed the covenant. The Araxians, their skin glowing with shades of gold and green, were the first to add their mark. The Novans, Tellurians, and 24 other formerly subjugated species followed. Even a delegation from one of the reformed Krell factions approached the document. Their representative, smaller and less imposing than those who had first contacted Earth, spoke in carefully measured tones. For millennia, the Dominion followed a path that brought suffering to countless beings, it said. Some of us have long questioned this way. We seek to join your covenant not as conquerors but as equals with much to atone for. The hall fell silent. Many species had suffered terribly under Krell rule. Forgiveness would not come easily or quickly. President Laura Chen, who had guided Earth through the war years, stepped forward. The path to redemption begins with a single step. We accept your commitment to the new way. Time will test its sincerity. As the signing ceremony concluded, engineer Sam Wilson demonstrated the Alliance's newest achievement, a holographic projection system that displayed a real-time map of known space. Unlike the restricted Krell star charts, this knowledge would be shared with all member worlds. The galaxy is vast, Sam explained, as stars and planets rotated above the assembly. There's room for all of us to thrive without taking from others. Combat specialist Nicole Pearson, who had once developed tactics to defeat the Krell, now led the Covenant's peacekeeping force. Her ships patrolled the borders where reformed Krell territories met free space, ensuring the peace held while trust slowly built. That evening, as celebrations continued across the assembly station, Ambassador Reeves stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. Admiral Forrester joined her, carrying 2 glasses of champagne brought from Earth. To humanity's future, he said, offering her a glass. To the galaxy's future, she corrected with a smile. We're all in this together now, far beyond the assembly station. Earth continued its transformation. Once a single isolated world, it had become the heart of a new galactic order. Schools taught children about dozens of alien cultures. Hospitals incorporated medical advances from multiple species. Research centers collaborated across light years on technologies once unimaginable. The warning that humanity had issued in its darkest hour had become the foundation of a new era. The cosmic blade that once stood ready to defend a single world now protected a union of diverse civilizations, all united by a simple principle. Never again would the strong prey upon the weak, for justice now balanced the scales of power throughout the stars.